Well, as predicted, as expected by all Pakistani fans, all true die-hard Pakistani fans, that the only way was up after the first Multan test. But no one could have expected that up to result in a Pakistan victory on day four by no less than 152 runs. I've got Zahid with me. Zahid, I was going to start this video by saying, oh, as predicted, all this, but I couldn't bring myself to do it because this is perhaps the first time that all Pakistanis are a bit shell shocked, right? No one gave Pakistan a chance in hell. And look, Pakistan is a team that is known for, the whole 1 minute down, next minute up, right? We've seen it so many times, and we always used to get frustrated as to why they couldn't do this to begin with. But this time, it's like when you cram your studies before an exam, like the night before an exam, you just cram and you just do so much selective study, and you just hope that the questions are on the one or two topics that you studied, and exactly that comes. I remember in my Urdu exam in my GCSEs, my Urdu isn't the best, but I literally learned a speech on the importance of education. And what are the odds? I opened the exam, and right there, the importance of education. And I literally vomited everything I did. And it feels like that, you know? They literally went with three spinners, gambled on winning the toss. They won the toss. They gambled on Kamran Ghulam coming off, scored 100. They gambled on Sajid and Noman, and they got all 20 wickets amongst themselves. Only this second time. And I think the last time was what, 1972? So
Yeah.
help me understand what happened, because I am at a loss for, forget words, thoughts.
Look, if I were to give a lazy analysis, I'd just say that's Pakistan cricket, right there. So, but
Maybe.
look, again, from my point of view, it's not something that we predicted or I expected or you expected, and I'm not sure many of the viewers expected this either. I think what we really, at least from my point of view, there was never a point where I felt until the last wicket fell, or maybe the eighth wicket or ninth wicket fell, that I thought Pakistan are going to win this, right? Because at every juncture we've been scarred so much
We've
by
been so
these.
scarred.
England were 2 down overnight. You thought, okay, Joe Root's still in. He's going to go and he's going to get 100, and he's going to be a Joe Root special. Ben Stokes is always there in a chase. Day 4, day 5. You knew till he's there, something's going to happen until he decided to throw his bat out of the stadium. Brad, what's his name? Cars hit a couple of sixes, and I thought, okay, maybe they might have some, that Vokes and Butler partnership in
I was
2020.
about to bring that up. I was literally in 2020,
So
wasn't it? Peak COVID.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's always that, right? But look, Pakistan came through in the end, and like you say, it's literally what Akib Javed said in his interview, right? You dry up the square, you play three spinners.
I
You
mean,
only needed two, but
between you and me, Zahid, between you and me, like Kudrat ka Nizam is
yeah,
embedded in folklore. This Akib Javed video that has been doing all the rounds of social media is now sort of forever cemented in like the annals of great Pakistan predictions, like media pieces, or just probably now it's pasted itself on the Pakistan cricket folklore, right? It's pasted itself within the mentality and within the sort of cosmic headspaces of every single Pakistani, that
yeah,
Akib Javed video. And for all our non
yeah.
Pakistani fans watching this, it's literally him. And I think it's a month ago or a couple of months ago saying, if you want to win a test match, dry up the wicket, spinners, and they lose. 100% they lose. And the host is like, well, not really. Like, 100% they lose. You have three
I don't
spinners,
think it was a
play
month
them.
ago. I think it was after the first test. It was an interview after the
Was
first.
it?
I don't know when it was, but anyways, but it's I doubt you would have said that after during the Bangladesh series. But anyways, whatever it is, it was accurate. It was true. That's exactly what Pakistan did. And look, phenomenal performance. Obviously, Kamran Ghulam. I think Sajid rightly got man of the match, although Noman was one with 11 wickets. But it's really that spell by Sajid on day 2 where he got those wickets at the end of the day
Yeah,
that really set
100%.
it from 220 or whatever, 215 for 2 to 225 for 6. That's what really turned the game in Pakistan's favor. So I think Riley got the man of the match. Look, I mean, Salman Ali, yeah, he did ride his luck in that, in especially in the second innings with a few drop chances, but a very critical 50, 60 odd.
I mean, that
And
is
again,
perhaps one of the best rear guard innings I've seen in a long time by
yeah,
Pakistan. Right?
and then of course, the batting as well. Noman in the first innings, or Lara as he called himself in the first innings.
He's like, oh, did you see my Lara type shot? Yeah. And then of course Sajid Khan. I thought his second innings runs were gold dust, right? I mean, they were worth its weight in gold. But just spare a moment for Salman Aga. Now nobody knows this, and such is the sort of the classic saying that some players just skip under the radar for no reasons. They just slip down. Nobody notices them. Everyone used to talk about Kallis. I'm not comparing some Aga to Kallis, but I'm just saying that there are those quiet cricketers who just go about their business. There's not much media attention on them, and they slip under the radar, but they are the reason that their team stays competitive. And Salman Aga, nobody knows, or not many people know this, but he's, I think, the second highest run scorer in this World Test cycle, if I'm not mistaken. And then you can fact check me, but I read somewhere that is the case, and he's only behind I think he's the most actually at number seven. At number 7, he is the highest run getter in this World Test cycle, right? Now, I know ultimately you hope that your number 7 doesn't really score many runs and your first top 6 do, right? So it's one of those backhanded compliments, but nevertheless, he does his job brilliantly. He even said that he actually always saw himself as a top order player and he was disappointed that he was given this role, but now he's embraced it. And that's a lesson for every single other Pakistani team member who is obsessed with playing for their name and not for the country. Yeah. So I think he's been phenomenal. He didn't really do much with the ball, but he's also been very successful as an off spinner or as a part-time off spinner. So all in all, for me, if, and I say if, and I dare to dream, I mean, you could even almost punish me for dreaming, that if Pakistan managed to pull off perhaps one of the greatest upsets in Test series history by winning the Rawalpindi Test, which will be as flat a deck as you'll ever imagine, then Salman Aga for me is your man of the series. I think I'm getting ahead of myself, but my point is I think he doesn't get enough credit. And for me, if Pakistan had been on the winning side of a few Test matches, he'd have many man of the match awards. At the moment, he's got none.
I think it's he's fantastic performance by him. We will come on to Rawalpindi and what changes we might expect and conditions. I disagree that it might be a flat track given Pakistan's recent performances on flat decks. But yes, with a spinning track, you are gambling on the toss. But look,
I'm not doubting the intention. No. It's going to be a classic Azhar Mahmood case of no. We wanted the pitch to spin, and we didn't misread the pitch. It's just that the pitch didn't do what we expected it to do. And you're like, sorry, what's the definition of misreading a pitch? Yeah, exactly that. Right. Exactly. So it's going to be that. My worry is obviously you can't have a day 6 to day 10 pitch in Rawalpindi, right? I was half expecting Mohsin Naqvi to come out and say, oh, the third Test match will also be in Multan. But that's my only worry, that whilst they will want to make it a spinning track, I don't know whether we'll be able to. That's all.
Yeah. And I guess in a way, Zahid Mahmood hardly bowled, so you can probably get a pace. Anyways, we'll discuss that towards the end. I did want to bring up a slightly controversial or negative point as well. I mean, we've had 10 minutes of praising Pakistan cricket, which we haven't done in a long, long, long time. So I think that that's enough. But isn't it ironic that the one test match where you finally get a spinning track is the one test match Mr. Babar Azam does not play? Or maybe it's because he's not playing that you end up getting a spinning track, because we know his record against spin. So do you think that might have had anything to do with it? Given the history, we know in the past, even your Yusufs and Inzamams, we know, we've heard stories where they were insistent on having batting friendly tracks in Pakistan, and that's been a history where batters have requested certain conditions for their stats or whatever. So,
Yeah,
do you think that may have had a role?
So I think in one of our earlier podcasts, we said that Pakistan's unfortunate predicament is that we've often had batting captains, but our strength has been our bowling. And in Test cricket, our batter captains have always wanted flat featherbeds. The highest percentage of draws anywhere in the world is in Pakistan, despite Pakistan having probably the most potent bowling attack of all time after the West Indies, and that was Wasim and Waqar. And Shoaib Akhtar as well in the mid to late 90s. Before that, you had Imran and Qadir, and then of course Sakleb. I mean, the names go on. You could fit all those into a world 11. And despite that, you had absolute featherbeds. And honestly, it's not just your batting captains. Even the likes of Wasim Akram, who was captain for much of the 90s, in and out, also used to request batting wickets because it was always that fear of a batting collapse. So it wasn't just batting, the batters, it was everybody who said, you know what, no, we need a flat wicket because and the thinking was our bowlers are so good that we'll be able to get 20 wickets anywhere, but the opposition bowlers aren't. And our batters are not good enough to handle tricky conditions. So that's the most defensive way of thinking. And we know that when Ramiz Raja became chairman of the PCB, he was the one who actually revamped a lot of these pitches. Rawalpindi was historically one of our pace-friendly wickets, and always produced results. But now it's a featherbed. The Australia series where Ramiz Raja went for flat tracks and forbade the commentators from criticizing the pitch, if you remember. And who was captain then? Babar Azam. Right now, that's why I'm not saying whether there was a direct correlation. It's one of those unspoken truths in Pakistan cricket that don't test the batting, just trust the bowling to do well despite unfavorable conditions, which is so unfair and so defensive. If anything, it's credit to Shan Masood, right? Shan Masood himself is a batter, and I've criticized him for keep talking a lot about 20 wickets, which is true. But yet you also need a good third innings score to win a test match. Yeah. So you can talk a lot about the 20 wickets, but if you're not going to score more than 150 in your third innings, it becomes a moot point. But despite that, he went for a sporting wicket. He probably didn't have a choice. I think the selectors knew what they were going to do, and this is probably the first time that everybody had a one-track mind at the top. They said, "This is what we want. I'm not even entertaining any other option." Right?
Yeah.
And despite 16 selectors, like Michael Vaughan said, the 16 selectors in Pakistan have finally got something right. But, so what you said, I wouldn't say it's controversial, right? I mean, Babar Azam, the captain, had his flaws, right? So there you go. It remains to be seen whether lightning strikes twice. This is one of the things with Pakistan, where Abrar Ahmed burst on the scene and did really well the first time. And then somehow that beginner's luck seems to disappear, or the returner's luck in Pakistan, as it tends to be. At 38 years young, Noman Ali, how long will it last? And that consistency is what I still have my doubts on.
Yeah, I mean, same for Sajid Khan, right? I mean, he's played 9 test matches. He's got 2 man of the matches, but then I think the other 7 he's been pretty average, right? I mean, Australia, I know there's this clip going around about him being dropped and him complaining and all of that, but
please look at his stats. Open his stats, please, and tell me.
So yeah, especially in Australia, I think he probably didn't deserve. Well, he deserved to be dropped. But anyways, look, he still got more man of the, or I think he's got more man of the matches. Yeah, in 9 Test matches than Babar Azam has got in whatever 50 Test matches, right? So.
Didn't he get one against
Sorry,
Australia?
player of the match awards. Yeah,
Didn't he get one
yeah.
against Australia?
I think that's his only one. Yeah, I think there was a stat that Shaheen and Babar in 80 something Test matches have got 2, and Sajid has got 2 in 9. So there you go.
You know, Zahid,
Anyways,
those are simpler times when Babar would just score 196. I mean,
simpler times. There was just one time.
he was one.
Times.
He was one time. That's a fair point. On a flat wicket. Yes.
Exactly. But anyway, I think let's move on to the next test and what Pakistan
Before I
should
do,
do.
I think it's worth touching on England, right? Just very briefly, right?
Oh yeah.
England, England would probably rule their missed chances, right? Did they deserve to lose the Test match by 152 runs? No, because for large parts of the entire match, they remained competitive. It's something you'd say the other way around, actually. But in England's case, like throughout the first day, Pakistan never really got away, right? 259 for 5, anybody's game. Second day, until like the last half an hour, it was all England, right? We was like, okay, this is going to be another 600, 700 run fest. So it's just, again, we talk a lot about important moments, and England lost those. Right? You don't need to win most of the Test match. You need to win the most important moments in the Test match. They couldn't hold that momentum. And when you lose the momentum just before a day's play or at the start of a day or a session, it really disrupts your thinking, the mindset. And obviously, it was the dropped catches, right? I shudder to think, as a Pakistani supporter, what would have happened had those catches been taken. I'll tell you what would have happened. England would have won, right? You minus 45 at least runs from the total. And it's not just 45 runs, it's also the psychological pressure. When you're chasing less than 250, it's a completely different game than when you're chasing circa 300, right? So whether it's 40, whether it's 60, whether it's 70, I don't know what the difference would have been, but I can tell you the momentum would have been with England. England would have come on to bat a lot sooner on the third day, chasing something much less. So England, were unfortunate. The biggest unfortunate thing for them is they lost the toss, right?
Yeah.
Like if they won the toss, I will give it to you in writing. I will, as you like. I know I don't sound like a very optimistic Pakistan supporter, but I am. When a match comes on, I'm the first to get into it. Yeah. But had we lost that toss, I think we would have been staring at a massive defeat. So I feel for England.
I'm not sure what the bigger achievement was actually. Was it taking the 20 wickets, or was it keeping England to 4.2, 4.3 in both innings, given what their recent history has been? And look, and again, at the end of the day, if you look at a lot of the dismissals, right? I mean, Zach Crawley's dismissal was a good delivery. I think he made it look better. That stumping of Noman Ali, the Ben Stokes one. It's yes, there's this thing about Bazball and how amazing it is, but then this is the classic example of when it goes wrong, it just looks so bad.
Yeah,
Ben Duck is dismissed in the second innings. First, second ball, he's trying to sweep. Again, Crawley stumping. It just looks so awful, especially when that it's spinning. But that's just how they play, right? And look, you might ask questions of it, but the answer is going to be this is how they play, and that's the issue with this style, right? I mean, you can get out for whatever 144, or in some cases for 46, but we can.
That's a very side remark there, but we get on that. There are 2 points I want to make. Okay, and I think one is, look, whenever you're questioning an approach, you think, what's the alternative? Okay, and this is why, yes, Bazball has his criticisms. I also criticize it sometimes. I think sometimes they don't play with sense. They get carried away. But I never fault the intention that comes with Bazball, because I remember what they were before Bazball. And I guarantee the result would have been no different. They would have just blocked their way to 160 or whatever versus smash their way, right? And it would have been an even more one-sided affair. So I could, and actually, had they not played with the spirit of Bazball, they wouldn't have scored whatever they scored in the first innings, late 200s,
Yeah.
right? They just wouldn't have, because it was the ones, I think they were at 175 for 2 at one point at over 5 runs and over. Imagine, had they not done that and they were at 2 runs and over, and then the wickets started falling, they would have been at least 100 runs shy, light. But look, so that's one thing. Just on England, right? I was disappointed, obviously, as a neutral cricket watcher. Obviously, I was delighted that Ben Duckett got out, but I just felt like, as a neutral thinking about it, Ben Duckett is your best player of spin. After Joe Root, of course. Joe Root is on a different planet. But Ben Duckett was a centurion in the first innings, and it's because he played spin well. So let me just think. It's the second ball you're facing. Are you really going to sweep the ball? They knew when they went in, they said, look, we're going to go hard at the Pakistan bowlers because we need to put them under pressure. And I think Ben Duckett even said, we know Pakistan crumble under pressure. So they knew. They said, you know what? And the best way to attack on this wicket when the bounce is uneven and it's keeping low is sweep. Sweep everything. Like, don't do anything silly. It's a very high risk strategy, because if it's in variable bounce, you're going to get a ball bounce a little more on top edges, and you get a top edge of your sweep. And I just think, it's the classic case. One batter is the aggressor, the other batter takes his time. In that case, Ben Duckett, knowing he's the best player spin, Ben Duckett and Joe Root are the prize wickets, in my opinion. So you just have to, the others around them can play on the aggressive role, and they need to stick till the end, right? I know Ben Duckett is not that sort of player. I get it. But here's a matter of winning and losing here. Okay, I don't buy that, you have to always trust people to play their natural game. Honestly, I don't buy it. At this professional level, yes, play your natural game, but you have to be prepared to adapt to meet the game, the needs of the game. You have half an hour to play before the end of play. For God's sake, be aggressive, but sweeping your second ball off a spinner bowling with the new ball so it will bounce a little more is silly. Okay, and speaking of silly, the one last point I'll make is Mohammad Rizwan. Okay, he got a few stumpings. Yes, I know that, and those stumpings made the spinners look even better than they were. 100%, got it. Good keeper. His batting, and now I'm getting a bit tired. Okay, because I actually looked up his stats before this, and I actually saw his stats in Tests and ODI cricket is not very good. We are at the moment still influenced by his T20 peak that happened in 21-22 that makes us think that he's a very, very phenomenal batter. I see him as a number 7, and I see Salman Agha as a number 6, because for me, Rizwan, and I don't think Rizwan is fully established the longer format batter. Okay, and the classic example of this is, look at his dismissal. Okay, you as a test or even an ODI batter, for God's sake, you need to be smart enough to understand the plans. The first thing anyone will tell you is look at the field. Why do you look at the field? 2 things. 1, to know where the gaps are, and 2, to try and get a sense of what the bowler is trying to do. Here you have the most unconventional slip position, really close with a helmet. Why? Because, and that also on a wicket where you haven't had many slip catches or fast bowlers, because there's just been low bounce. But despite that, you have a slip in. So the bowler is going to bowl in the channel, the corridor of uncertainty, because Rizwan always plays with hard hands. He does this all the time. He's a bottom-handed player. It is made for you. It's in front of you. So if you know that, why can't you just adapt? It's literally, you've given it to them on a silver platter. And that's why I always say batters have an advantage, because they can sense what the bowler is doing, not the other way around, because the clue is the field placements around you. And this is where I'm getting a bit now annoyed that as a senior player who is literally riding on his T20 credentials over just a short period of 15 months, is just not adapting his awareness of the game. And that's why I don't see him as an obvious captain, contrary to what everyone says. It's just a bit upsetting. Look at Joe Root. Joe Root played, Noman Ali almost got him out end of day 3. Why didn't he get him out? Why did it bounce to slip? Soft hands.
Soft hands, yeah. Yeah, if you get out to a good delivery, that's fine, right? That happens. But if you I mean, to be getting out to a medium pacer on this pitch, unless it's one that rolls along the ground, getting out in the slips, it's criminal. It's it's really really silly. But Rizwan thinks, um, I think he does get. I think he kind of hides behind the failures of others. It's easy to ignore because he does always do the bare minimum. He gets his 40s or 20s or 30s, and he gets away with it. I
Completely
think
agree.
that's um, whereas you've got more other glaring failures, which I guess is a good segue to what Pakistan should do for the next test. With Abdullah Shafiq failing again, Shan Masood, his typical 150 and then a string of low scores.
Abdullah Shafiq. Abdullah Shafiq's the way it's so obvious when he's off balance and his behind is sticking out, and it's like, where are the coaches? Like he looks at, although Abdullah Shafiq, your catching has improved leaps and bounds. I congratulate you on all the catches you took, and that alone may keep your place in the team. But honestly, I'm getting a bit annoyed by him. He looks pretty, and then he has this weird seductive stance, and I don't get what he's trying to do. And he actually makes every ball that he gets out to look amazing. When okay, yeah, Jack Leach's ball wasn't too bad, but he also literally played down the wrong line. If you actually watch it again, come on. Like, you literally, your his front foot was not in the right place. He was playing for a ball that would hit when the spin is going to go away, if at all. And it's just like, and he just missed the ball, right? It looks really good. Oh my god, a dream off spinner's wicket, no, left arm's off spinner's wicket. But I just, yeah, for me, I would drop Abdullah Shafiq, but I don't know who for. Maybe
Herrera
Herrera.
is
Herrera.
the only national, and then that, well, technically he can keep as well, so that might have solved two problems in one with Rizwan maybe playing as a pure batter or something. Actually, if Herrera opens, he's gonna open, but he's not gonna keep. But yeah, I think that's one solution. Yeah, I
And I
don't
would
know. I
do
mean,
it.
yes,
I would do it.
that 100
I
did
would
buy
do
him
it.
some time, but I don't think, because if he's failed in the Bangladesh series as well.
Yeah, yeah. And also the success that he had on the Absolute Road, he got out at 102. Because he could have gone really big, and he got out when he was panting away, exhausted. And
I mean,
please look at
it's a
the
fitness thing, right?
300s and double hundreds on the other end, right? Like,
Yeah.
so for me, I think Abdullah Shafiq's time is up. And I think, like, it can't get any worse. Look at the opening partnership stats. And here was a team, Pakistan, always struggled with openers. But there was a time with Imamul Haq and Abdullah Shafiq that we actually averaged in the late 60s, I think. But we had a really strong, and before that with Abid Ali, I think it was. We had a string of good openers who did really well. Barring that, I think there was Imran Butt, who was terrible, but only in the team for his slip catches and his connection. But other than that, like, we have gone backward and back to the days of being 10 for 2 all the time. So I think try Herrera, hope that you get some of that, top order form back. And the other change for me is that, look, Zahid Mahmood, I was a bit disappointed by. I know it's unfair to judge him because he didn't play bowl second innings, but I think in Rawalpindi, my suggestion, given you have Salman Aga, you have Sam Ayub to some extent, although you don't really use him, you have Sohar Shakil, all can bowl. I would actually go play Mir Hamza, because I feel that if Pakistan had lost the toss, we didn't have anyone to be an exponent of reverse swing. And look at the number of wickets we lost to pace.
Yeah. I mean, that's always what Pakistan do, right? So even in the days of Anderson and Broad, it used to be them taking the wickets.
What do you mean, just the days of
half an
Anderson
over.
and Broad? You mean that they're like the best bowlers that England have had?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Even they used to dominate versus on relative basis versus the spinners.
True.
But I think I agree with those changes. I don't think it'll happen. I think they will not drop Abdullah Shafiq because I think Herrera probably isn't as obvious a replacement as Kamran Ghulam was for Babar. So I don't think so. I would like to see them do that, but I don't think they will. But yeah, I think Mir Hamza should be in for Zahid Mahmood.
Yeah.
I think
And if he isn't, then it'll be a Junaid Khan part 2. Something's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, yeah, I think. Well, I guess it's a good time to move on to the other topic from 823 in one Test match to 46
Uh,
across the border. But this is still a day and a bit to go, a couple of days to go in that Test match. We might see a Lakshman 2.0, given the way things might be panning out, or maybe we've jinxed it. But India have sort of fought back well in their second innings. I mean, it could be a lot better had Tim Southee and Rajin Ravindra not gotten going in the second inning. But still, I mean, that 46 all out. I mean, we talked about England and their baseball approach. When the conditions are tough, when the ball is seaming around, yes, it's Chinnaswamy, but it was anything but. I mean, some of the shot making, right? I mean, Rohit Sharma, what are you doing? Walking down the track.
Look, I mean,
Uh,
there was a hint of overconfidence, and and look, it
yeah.
can come sometimes, right? And I think we got a comment earlier in one of our podcasts that we still think that this Indian team is better than the invincible Aussies. I can tell you that the invincible Aussies that we grew up watching would never have had this happen to them. I'm not saying there's any criticism to India or anybody. All I'm saying is that this Indian team is on its way to being an undisputed invincible team, but they're still not there yet because I feel like the talent is there, the people are there, the personnel are there, the attitude is even there. What's missing sometimes is your ability to calibrate your approach to the game to suit the conditions and just try and not get complacent. I won't say that. More about just keeping your emotions and nerves in check,
Yeah.
right? One can get a bit cocky, one can get overconfident when things are coming your way. This reflects, I think, this is a big South Asian mentality. I feel one of the reasons why Pakistan never succeeded during the days they had great talent was also the emotions that come into it. I think Kevin Peterson even said the talent is unreal in Pakistan, and it's the same in India. It's the same thing,
Hmm.
if not obviously much better. But the point was in Pakistan they don't train as hard, and they're too emotional about winning and losing. The second bit is also true with India because you are trying to live up to so much expectation and pressure from your fans, 1 billion people, that when you're riding a wave of success, you can let it
Yeah.
get to your head. It's easy, right? The fans start adoring you, idolizing you.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, right? Australia didn't have to contend with that, right? I mean, that was a country used to sporting success across all sports. So it's a bit of psychology here, and a bit disappointing that a team as professional as India couldn't calibrate their approach. This is why I say that Australia team is still ahead. They would
Yeah.
always calibrate approach. I can't remember. Yes, they've lost the one-off game, the odd game here there, but never a game, never ever something like this.
Yeah, I think it's happened to India twice in 4 years, which is very frequent for something as bad as this in terms of a score, right? And they did come back in after the 36 all out to win the series. There's a good chance they might still win this Test match, but time will tell. And I think the one thing that I did appreciate was Rohit Sharma. He came out, kind of fronted up to the criticism and said, "Look,
Absolutely.
I would not have expected." Imagine Babar Azam coming out saying, "Yeah, the bowlers didn't do a
The
good
bowlers
job."
didn't get 20 wickets. The bowlers didn't get 20 wickets. That's why we were allowed for 46.
But yeah, so you have to respect him for that, despite the abysmal performance. And it's just optically, right? I mean, if it was like even 70, 80, 90, 46 is just really bad. But yeah, anyways, we'll discuss the Test match once it's over, because there's still some cricket left to be played between now and then.
Absolutely. Well, look, there you have it, right? A day that we probably didn't think we'd live to see so soon after that first test match. But here we are. I came home for a change, so I'm doing it at home. Maybe probably it's celebrate, but I think ultimately, Pakistan deserve a lot of credit, right? We talk a lot about it. We've given them a lot of flack, but let's and I know we're used to them bouncing back like this, but let's call a spade a spade. it takes a lot of heart, a lot of mental strength, and a lot of skill to actually execute. Yes, the toss came in your favor. Yes, certain things, the drop catches, fell into your hands, right? You can't control those factors. But despite all that, you still have to execute your skills, and you still have to execute your plans and ace what you can control. And that's what Pakistan did really well. You still have to win the game. They did it, right? Credit where it's due. Um, my only hope is that this is the start of more consistent times. And when I say consistent, I don't expect victories. As Pakistani fans, we don't expect victories all the time at this.
I don't think Pakistanis and consistency goes in the same sentence, but we
Yes,
can always hope.
it's more about consistency of making a match out of things, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we want to see. I still think England are going to win the series 2-1. I think they'll aim for a spinning wicket. That's my prediction. And I think England are just the better team, and it will be a fair result. But I could be proven wrong, and stranger things have happened. And we'll just have to wait till Rawalpindi to find out. Thank you.
Thank you.